Appreciate the audience patience. Okay. Shaila is what you, somebody had said to me before, how do you greet somebody in BOmer? Do you say Get Yantiv? Do you say Good Mayid? Maybe it's kind of up to us what we say. Look at the fire outside and the minig of the medurais and the lights. I try to give you an interesting analogy. When I was in Camp Aguda many years ago, so I had my first car. It was in 1968. I told you this before, a cross between a Buick and a Chevy. Wasn't sure what it was. The front was a Buick, the back was a Chevy. It was like a Kvi, a Suffolk Chai, a Suffolk BOmer. And so I had the good old mechanic, Willie. I remember Willie was somewhere between White Lake and Swan Lake in a house that he built himself. And he was a big guy, and he had this lift where it was like a hydraulic. I don't know what it was, but he pushed the car on. He went boom, like he was the wrong guy to start up with, And Willie had a very interesting way of doing wheel alignments. I mean, Bechlal was before computerized wheel alignments, but even then, I don't think anyone did it the way Willie did. Willie had two circles on his wall, okay? And for each model car, he had a different set of circles. And then, I kid you not, what he did was he tied or connected these two flashlights to the inside of the tires, okay? And he kept adjusting it until the light would shine directly into the circle. And I got to tell you, he did a very, very good wheel alignment. Much better sometimes than they do today. I mean, Willie was an interesting guy. I remember they brought the bus once, and he wanted to see exactly what the problem was when it shifted between second and third gear. So the only way to do it was they opened up the hood, and they had the driver drive, 40, 50 miles an hour, and he was standing on the side of the bus looking in, saying, I got it. But try to think about that flashlight shining into the perfect holes. I think a little bit the light of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is to adjust us, just to do a wheel alignment a little bit in our lives. I'll take this a little bit further. I heard this mashal that there's a man, he has an inn, and he opens up the door, and in walks a duck. The duck walks into your inn, you try to be nice to the duck, and the duck sits onto the chair, and the duck asks for a pina colada, and he brings it out, and gives it to him. After a while, how much is it? He tells him how much it was. Duck, plucks his thing and pulls out his feathers, takes out the money, just wobbles out. Okay, cash paying customer. You don't ask too many cashes. And then the next day, the duck comes in again. This time he wants a Bloody Mary, and again he takes that. Every single day he comes in, he pays. He's there for a week, and after the week he mentions or quacks that this is the last day that he's going to be there. So he said, who are you? Why are you here? So he said that he's a house painter. That's what the duck said. And he had a job across the street. He was painting. He says, "You're a house painter?" He says, "I have an uncle who has a circus. You could be, you could be, the potential over here, the rights, the people are going to buy. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. Stop what you're doing. Come work for the circus." And the duck says, "You sure they're going to hire me?" "Of course they're going to hire you. This is the sensation of the century." So he walks out and he turns around and he goes, but why would a circus need a house painter for? Okay. The nimshal being that sometimes we don't appreciate who we are, but we don't understand the koichos that we have, and we kind of sometimes throw in the towel and settle for so much less. So they say from Reb Chaim said that they asked the kasha. The Gemara says that a horse during war, you have to trust your horse, because the horse, one boom, and the rider was flying off, and he's kaput, he's gone. So what happens during war? The horse is in a terrifying situation, and the rider is smashing the horse, and the horse obediently is charging forward. He says, "Your horse, Meshugana. What are you listening? He's shmasing you. You tell me one more. You have the horse turn around and say one more shmais. I send you flying." So he says, it may be a good kasha, but it's not a good. But it's a very simple teretz. It's because he's a horse. Adam bikar. Person is so precious. We have so many kaiches. But we don't understand kisus. We give in to our emotions, we're down and we're angry and we're upset, and I'm not getting enough covet here, I'm not getting enough this, I'm not getting enough that. Why are we taking our lives and letting it fall apart when there's so much that is within us? The Heilige Rishna once asked the Chassid, and he invested a tremendous amount of money in his time, in the 1800s, late 1800s, in the building of the Miron area and to keep it in certain hands. And the Rishna once asked the Chassid longingly, said, what was there? What did you feel like BOmer? And he answered the famous thing, he said that it's an amazing thing. Inside is Yom Kippur, you see people crying their hearts out, and outside is Simchas Torah. And I know there's Yom Kippur, I know there's Simchas Torah, but together, like how do you step from one world into the other, back and forth? He said that's amazing. And the Rishna was very mishabech what he said, because he said that that's the koyach of Reb Shimon. What does that mean? That's the koyach of Reb Shimon. There are two emotional states that drive us away from the Rabbi Shalom. One is we get so scared sometimes. We fall into a yish, or fall into a depression, or fall into a sense of frustration, we just give up. And then sometimes a person goes the other way and he says, that's it, I want to live it up, I don't want anyone to tell me what to do, I don't want any restrictions, I want the world to be mine. The world to be mine. That doesn't always work either, because you still need the Rabbi Shalom in order to enjoy, as we've discussed many times. But they say the guy ran into he said he's going off the derech, he had enough, he ran in, and the order goes to, he orders some kind of fries, kosher, not kosher, and he goes, that's it, he takes off his yarmulke and he's had enough, he's rebelling. He goes, Brachat Hashem kebach bar pri Adam. He goes, why do you make a bracha for? He goes, oh, bracha shen kvar mechusim l'mavad. He says, all right, can't really run away. But there's sometimes the Yetzer Hara grabs a hold of a person and says, throw you into a matzav of latzanis, l'chayk, l'kal, l'swar, shall drive you away. What is Yom Kippur? What is the real meaning of Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur teaches us how to take our concern, take our fear, take our down, and turn it into tefillah. Rabbi Shalom, please help. And what does Simchas Torah teach us? Simchas Torah teaches us how to take our joy, and instead of wasting it on hailalais, or wasting it on a situation which is prone to rebellion and to taiva, as opposed to real joy, which is counterproductive, but to teach us how to truly feel the simcha in our avodas Hashem. And what Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's koyach is to take the whole spectrum of human emotions, to take our fears and depression and turn it into Yom Kippur. Turn it into an experience that's going to change our life. To take our will to try to break away and be free and say, there's no greater joy than you can have than right over here, going nowhere else. You're going to hear a lot over the next couple of months with the election that there's going to be a tremendous amount of concentration on the swing states. What are the swing states? You can go either the Democrats or the Republican, back and forth. So I once heard a good word. We live now in a swing generation. We can go either way. The lives of people, if you speak to people, think about this. Some of us never had it so good, and some of us were never so challenged. Some people are your great-grandfather will see how you live in America, amazing. And some of us live in a matzav of just the opposite. Your great-grandfather was happy. He's going to look at us like we're out of our mind. We live in a generation where there's so much control. You have a laptop at the tip of your fingers. Sometimes it works and you get shiurim to the other side. Sometimes it doesn't, but whatever it is, we have control. We can control one side of the world to the other. And yet, to a certain degree, we have a total lack of control. There's more limit at Torah in this generation, probably, definitely in terms of quantity, than maybe since the Bayis Sheni, Baruch Hashem, came here with the wonderful yeshivas. And yet we know the threats, to technological threats, to the family structure of Klal Yisrael, and to everything. So there never was such a swing generation as we are. And as we know, swing generations determine the outcome. The swing states are going to determine the outcome of the election. It's the swing doiris that are going to determine the outcome of when Mashiach is coming. So it says when Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's friends were there and they were crying, "Where's Rav Shimon? Where's Rav Shimon? We miss him." And one of the Talmidim, he asked the Kasha, the Zohar says. He says, there's twice in the Torah where we have the Toichacha. There are twice in the Torah where we have the Klolos, the curses. One in Parshas Bechukaisai, and the other Parshas Kisavai. Now the ones in Parshas Bechukaisai, at least afterwards, the words of Nechama. Hashem says, don't worry, it's not so bad, everything will be okay. But the ones in Parshas Kisavai, there's no betachin afterwards. I'm left just with the klala. Boom! End Parsha. Very frightening. Why? And they all turned to each other and they said, why? And Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi got up and he started to cry. He said, we need Reb Shimon. Where is Reb Shimon? He's the only one that can answer this question. And suddenly they saw a bunch of doves fluttering above it. And one dove was like, looked a learning disabled, and he was like challenged. He was flapping behind. You know, he needed some fly therapy or something, and I wasn't doing good. So Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda went over to this one dove that was like, looked a little disoriented. And he said to him, you know, Knesset Yisrael Nimshalu Liyoina, and during the days of the Mabul you were so trusted. Go to Bar Yochai! And he writes down this question. How come the curses, the Teichacha, in Parshas Kisavai, there's no promise that things are going to be good afterwards? We're left with the curses. And he puts it in the bird's beak, and he says, go! And he goes. And he goes, and he winds up by the cave. And interesting, the Gemara said, the Zohar says that the bird comes down and gives Rav Shimon bar Yochai the message. Rav Shimon bar Yochai reads the message, and he bursts into tears. Bacha, Shimon cries. And he says, my poor friends! They need an answer to this question! They don't have an answer. What's going to be? Eliyahu Navi shows up, says the Zohar, and Eliyahu Navi says to Rav Shimon, I'll tell you the answer. The klalos of Parshas Kisavai refer to the matziv in the world, the situation in the world before Mashiach comes. And you know why after the klalos there's no promise of bracha? Because what's going to happen at that time is the klalos themselves are going to be turned into bracha. The klalos of the first teichacha is going to be klalos, and afterwards Hashem says, okay, come, I'll take care of you. I'm going to compensate, I'm going to rebuild. No, the ikvus of the Mashiach, before Mashiach is going to come, people will be experiencing in their lives such curses, such klalos, such uncertainty. No way out. The Mashiach is going to come. And what's going to happen? Mashiach is going to show you that this is the bracha. We're going to see now, whoa, this is the bracha. I nechap this. So really, there's a much greater bracha in the teichacha of Parshas Kisavai and the curses of Parshas Kisavai than that of Bechikaisai. And the Gemara says that he put it back onto the bird, and the bird flew back. I want to try to understand this, because I think that's the aside of Lag BOmer. The Ber Chaim says that it's not pshat. Really, there's two things. Sometimes the Gemara says there's this famous story of Rabbi Akiva, and he had the donkey and the candle and everything else, and the candle blew out, and they didn't let him into the city, and he went into the woods, and here I am all alone in the woods, they won't let me spend the night in the city, and then the wind blew out his candle, and his donkey was attacked, and his chicken that woke him up was attacked, and then Rabbi Akiva kept saying, Kol ma da'avad rachmana l'tavav. Whatever Hashem does is good. We find a different lashon in Chazal, like by the story of Nachum ish Gamzu, more than Kol Mad Avad Rachman L'Tavav. We find a lashon Gamzu L'Tayva. This is also good. Now the Shomer Emunim explains that these are two different levels. Rabbi Akiva was talking to his Talmidim. Gemara says Rabbi Akiva told his Talmidim the story. When you begin to teach a munah, you say, you're going to see, this is good. You go to the dentist, then this long needle, ouch! Whoa. Why? You know what a root canal feels like without that needle? Okay? Somebody's needles, I'm not so sure, but at least it's supposed to be that way. So, Hashem gave you the needle, gave you the anesthesia, it hurt, but that was only to prevent something more. Right? Because Baruch is just Rahman on us as the dentist does. The dentist is not out of his mind, he's not giving me pain for no reason. Obviously, the other pain is better. That's one madrega. There's a higher madrega. The madrega is Gamzu L'Toiv. Is that the pain itself is good. And that Li'asid Lavid is going to be a time where, as the Ber Chaim says, "Afachti misbeti l'machali pitachta saki v'tiyazreini simcha." When Mashiach is going to come, when it comes to the time in our life that our frustrations and fears and pain and uncertainty is over, and we're zaychet to simcha, Hashem will show you that the simcha that we have is only based on all this fear and frustration. It's going to be converted into simcha. Pitachta saki, you will open my sack v'tiyazreini simcha and gird me with simcha. there's this whole story now with that it's true, it's not true, that they caught this plastic bomb, and was by a double agent, and really he was working for Al Qaeda, and really he's a double agent for the CIA, for Saudi Arabia. I said, I don't know, it is true, it's not true. Everyone has their svaras over here. Once you get into the world of double agents, you really never know. Is he a double agent? Is he a triple agent? Maybe he only thinks he's a double agent. Maybe he's really working for Al Qaeda. Maybe he's really working for him, but he's working for. There's no end. So the bottom line is, once you play the spy game, you don't really know what's going on. But I was just thinking, isn't that the story of our life also? It looks like the spy is going to blow up the building, and he's really the good guy. Do we know what's good, what's not good in our life? So I met a Yerushalayim Yid yesterday, and he asked me for a donation, and I said to him, if you tell me a good story about Miron, he said, I'll tell you a story that happened to a friend of mine. He tells me the name of his friend. It cost me $20 a story, so listen. He says, there was a Bachar, he learned in the yeshiva, told me which yeshiva, a whole kavutz of Bachrim went, and he needed a shidduch, this Bachar, and he is crying his heart out by Reb Shimon, a shidduch, please, please, please. And he was just getting into it. He just was able to work himself over to where the thing is, and all of a sudden the boy said, I've got to go home. So we're going home. He says, you know what, I'll find my way home. Got money for the bus, I'll catch a later bus. You guys go without me, I have to finish crying. And he pours his heart out to Reb Shimon. Right? And he doesn't realize how late it is. And he's on his way home, no money. He thought he had money to buy a ticket on the bus back, and no money, it's getting very late, and things are dwindling down already. So he knocks on someone's door that lives in the area of Miron. He told me the name of the person, I forgot. The guy opens up the door, can I help you? He says, I don't have any money, can you please give me money to get home to Yerushalayim? So he says, I don't know who you are. Should give you money. I don't know who you are. So he said, no, I don't know I don't know why he needed a better bus ticket, but how could I give you money? So he says, there's a certain Rav in Yerushalayim. You know him? Sure, I know him. He says, call him up. He'll vouch for you. All right? So he calls him up, and he says, this Bachar is here, and he wants me to lend him money for the way back. And I don't have mamish. Every penny by me every agorot is not much you can do in an agorot anyway. So what can you do in an agorot? You can get a poor person really angry at you. That's what you can do. If you get a curse, you can buy a curse from when you give it to him. But he said, every penny, I can't give him money if I don't know if I'm getting it back. The guy says, what's the Bachar's name? Let me talk to him. Oh, him, Yanko. Now you can trust him. No question about it. Sure? If there's anyone that could trust, I would trust. Trust me, if I had a daughter, I would take him for a son-in-law. And this guy says, really? I have a daughter. And I don't have to tell you the rest of the story. He became a shidduch. Taka was a shidduch. He got married. So if you see, there's a certain pattern over here, right? I mean, why couldn't the Schachter just walk in and say, oh, what a wonderful Bachar davening? It doesn't work that way. The way the Yeshua, the way Reb Shimon teaches us is, in his moment of frustration, I sent the boys home, I'm all alone, I have no money for the bus, it's getting dark over here, I gotta get back to Yerushalayim, what now? I knock on the door and I turn myself into 2 cents and beg for food. You ready to do it? Now, you're Yeshua. Every drop of your frustration, every drop of your pain is going to turn into your shidduch. You see the Mahalach? This is what Reb Shimon is teaching us. Reb Shimon is teaching us how this turns into, it is the pain. It is the actual pain that turns into the simcha. Now think about this. Look at this story, right? He finds which bird? He finds the bird that is learning disabled. The bird that gives up. The bird that can't even keep up with the other birds. It doesn't even know how to fly. And they have a feeling, oh, wait a second. When you send a message to Reb Shimon, it's this bird that can't keep up, doesn't know how to fly, is fluttering behind everyone else, can't keep up with the class, won't let him into any yeshiva. The Schachter says, no way, I can't find a shidduch for you. He doesn't have any future in his life. And he keeps trying. You're the bird that's going to find Reb Shimon. I just know it. Now he comes to Reb Shimon cries. Again, we don't know what Pshat Nazir is, but just try to think the simple meaning. Reb Shimon cries, he says, my friends, he says, I'm in pain, I don't know what the answer is, they see only Klala, Rabbi Shalom, help me! I can't talk to them, if they'll see Reb Shimon in front of his face, he'll show them how the Klala is bracha. And here comes Eliyahu Navi. And Eliyahu says, no, the Klala is bracha, and they write it together, and they send the message back. Now the Maranayim says, the Maral says, there's different ways of being Zoycha to Gili Eliyahu. Sometimes, some of us, we won't mention names over here, but we're on the level, not knock at the door, 12 o'clock, Rebbe Leo, come in, sit down, what would you like to learn tonight? Daf Yomi, Gemara, Mishnah Berurah, you mention whatever you want, we'll learn. There are people, Zaycha to Gili Elio, the people in the war, they said, the Mamish, impossible, had to be Elio Navi that saved them. There's another kind of Elio Navi, says the Maral. The Maranayim also says this. You're tossing and turning in bed, and you're perspiring, and there's such a tzara, such a decision, you don't know what to do, and suddenly you take a deep breath, you go, whatever will be, Rabbi Shalom said, my life is in your hands, forget it, whatever will be. That was a Gili Elio in your neshama, says the Maral. There's a way that Elio Navi comes to your neshama and says, it's okay, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Now it says when Reb Shimon made his final move outside of the cave, so it says he saw a hunter. That's what the Zohar says. Saw a hunter, and the hunter was shooting at the birds. Some birds are going to make it, some birds not. But Reb Shimon heard a baskol. You heard a baskol that one bird is flying by, the arrow is going right for the bird. Rachamim. Boom, arrow misses. The hunter goes, how did I miss? He didn't hit a baskol, the hunter. And there's another arrow, oops, I missed. And he hears the gzeira the other way. And boom, hey, I can't believe I got it, right? And the hunter keeps chiding himself. How did I miss that one? How did I got that one? You didn't miss. You didn't get. You just don't hear the baskol. So Reb Shimon said, the world is not in our hands. In the Shemayim, we're directed. Every bullet has an address. Why am I staying in the cave? I'm out of here. Let's go. Let's move. So what's Reb Shimon teaching us? Reb Shimon is teaching us, what are you getting angry at that guy? My supervisor, I'm going to lose my job. My wife doesn't respect me. My husband doesn't respect me. My this, my that. Whoa. Everything is Menashe Shemayim. And somebody told me a cute story. He said there was a Bachar, he's so makbid on emes, he never lied in his life. Then in Eretz Yisrael, whatever, he now has a whole tumult with the draft, he's a Shivsha Bachar, he goes to the Yerushalayim, he has to go to the draft board. So all the years, everyone does this. I don't want to, I'm not so normal, I'm this, I'm that, I'm sick. They tell you what to answer, and it's almost like a done deal. Got to go through a charade, like you have to go through so this guy comes and they say to him, you sleep at night? Yes. No. He says, you ever hear voices? Like they're almost giving him what to say. Never hear voices. He goes, you nervous? Not nervous. He's like, what are you doing? I won't lie. Never said a lie in my life. I won't lie. Finally, they finish, and he goes, okay, you're potter. Tur. Why did I get up Tur? He goes, I'm sugar now. I'm trying to tell you what to say. I want to lie. You're not lying. You're not normal. Come on, get out. You go with the emes. Go with the emes, you wind up where you're supposed to. I remember once, I had a very big personal question of what to do. And I went to my Meshgiach Lazan Gesund, and he said to me, you have to close your eyes and think. What does the Rebbeinu Shem want you to do? I can't answer you. I'll tell you an interesting thing. When I was 17 years old, 18 years old, I was in Camp Tarvadas, and the color war was a big thing then. It was like the greatest thing in the world. And if you made it to the top color war team, like you were general or lieutenant in the army, that was like Gan Eden itself. The covet, that was like, who could imagine? That was like, I don't know, speaking in a stadium. I don't know. It was like, I don't know what to compare it to. And they offered me, with a play, and I was good. And I said, this is it. This is my chance to get on stage, and the applause. And I went then to same Meshgiach Lazan Gesund, a couple of years ago, and he said no. I don't know if it was the environment he didn't want me in, or he said you're coming into Shidduchim, and it's like, you'd be totally out of learning for 4 weeks. No, don't do it. And I was like, but my talent and my but to me, it was like, boom, he shut the door on everything. I remember I went into the Beis Medrash, and it was like, I didn't want to go, I couldn't go down to watch the plays, because it was so hurtful that I could have been part of this, and I'm not part of it. And I sat down to the Beis Medrash, and I remember I opened up Mishnah, I was doing Mishnayos Bavakama with the Taisus Yamtiv. I was like looking up all the Mar Mekaimus on these Mishnayos, and I was like, close the Mishnayos, I was so frustrated. And the guy said to me, there was an old Yid, he was sit. I don't know, he was a worker in the kitchen. And he understood. He saw my closing the Mishnayos. He goes, Nish die Welt and Nish jene Welt? You're going to have not this world, not the world to come? What are you closing the Mishnayos for? You're not in a color war. You have nothing. So he's right. So I remember opening up the Mishnayos. And I tell you, I kid you not, maybe it was psychological, but I felt at that point such a geschmack in that learning that I mamish never felt before in my life. And later on, I think I got into doing the Daf Yomi tapes. I was in the night koil, and there was somebody working in the night koil that worked together with Rabbi Eli Teiteldam, Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha, and he was wanting to do a Mishnayos tape. He said, I need a certain Mishnayos tape by tomorrow morning. I know people say they have to prepare. I go, wait, that Mishnah, I'll do that Mishnah. And I did the Mishnah, and he said, you know what? Try a daf. I was like, everybody wanted to do a daf. Then I was like, nothing, still nothing. Then I knew it was nothing. And I did the daf, and and then that's changed my whole life. Everything went from there and on. I'm beginning to think back, If I would have kept that Mishnayos closed because I was so frustrated, I was kept away from the stage, I don't know what, would have, could have, should have. So these are the moments in our life that are most frustrating to us. The moments in our life we feel so deprived. That's the Yeshua. That's what Rav Shimon says. That's the Yeshua. So look at Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. His life is over. When the Romans are after you, no Rachmanis. They have 100% record in catching anyone. No one hides from them. And when they catch you, there's no due process. There's just a grinding machine. When Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is in a cave, no clothes, no friends, no Shabbos, no Yom Tov. And all he has is baksa to eat, right? Most of us can't make it through the Shachion who goes on eating the baksa, or that we survived the baksa. I'm not sure. And on top of that, they tell you there's worms inside. I wasn't supposed to eat it. The Rav Shimon Bar Yochai has the fresh charuvim. Granted, there's a telltale Medrash Talpias that says that on Shabbos it turned into tomorrow, turned into dates. But either way, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai had every reason in the world to be pretty depressed in that cave. And it's not like this. You're going to be here for a year, for 2 years, for 5 years. You'll be here forever. And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says, I guess I'm going to open the Mishnayos now. I guess I'm going to learn in a way that I never ever learned before. And they told him, woe is to you, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Right, later he met Rav Pinchas Bayar, he went to the Chamei Tferi, and he met his father-in-law, and his skin was eaten up from sitting in the sand. And he looked at him, he said, woe is to me that I see you this way. He says, Shrecha that you see me this way. That before that, what Rav Shimon Bar Yochai would ask his father-in-law, Pinchas Bayar, 12 questions, and he gave them answers. And now he asked him the questions, he gave him 24 answers. He asked 24, 12, 24. What's 24? There are 24 tzirufim of the Shem Havaya, says the Minchas Elazar. This Yud Kei Vav Kei comes in 24 different ways. On the month of Nisan, it's Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's Rachamim. Tishrei, it's in the exact opposite order. Every month of the 12 months has a different order of the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. The Bnei Yissaschar has a whole list. Before Musaf, you should have in mind that Shem when you make the bracha. Mekadesh for Musaf by Rosh Chodesh. What does that mean? He was able to answer 24 tirutzim. It means Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was able to show that it's the Shem Havaya, it's ultimate Rachmim in every combination in the world. Someone told me the story, I don't know if it's true or not, but they said Steve Jobs, when he showed up by his work, he never had license plates. And everybody was wondering how he's getting away with it. No license plates? Come on, just because you're this and that. And he told them it was perfectly legal. Everyone was trying to figure out how. They couldn't figure out how it was legal. So later they found out, according to California law, you don't need a license plate the first 6 weeks or the first 60 days. So what he did was he had his Rolls Royce or his Maserati or his and Lombardi, what's it called? Lamborghini, I'm sorry. And I only know Astro. Any Akapanim. So he said every 59 days he changed it for another one. But it looked like the same car. So no one chapped how he goes out without plates. Okay? So I don't know. To me, that's very confusing. See, Baruch Hashem, he could have not done that with my 98 Astro, because go find a different one every month. That thing has the same dent on the right door, and the left door goes bang, crack when you open it up. I have this great crack. It was like the first day I had the car. Somebody backed in when I was parked. They came back. There was this huge thing. And I went to the body shop. Forget about it. So every time you open the door, you hear this huge crunch. I want to tell you that many times this has happened. Especially you park in Yeshiva, someplace a few blocks away, so that's a good neighborhood. The guy would tell me, I think we saw this guy opened up your car, he heard that crunch, he took over, ran. I said, I don't need an alarm. Much better. Now, so you can buy yourself a new car, right, every 59 days. You know what he couldn't buy? He couldn't buy 1 extra minute of life. We understand what the gift of life is. Shimon Bar Yochai is running when he's out of the cave, and he sees this Yid running with 2 Hadassim. He says, what are you running? He says, one is for Zachar, one is for Shama. He's an old man. He says to his son, you see how Yidden love mitzvahs. Big deal. Let's bring them 2 Hadassim. What's the big deal? So the Ben Yoda says, you know what they used to have Hadassim Friday night? It was a skula to have good children. It was a skula to bring harmony into the home. Shalom bayis. You want to say a young guy is getting married, you have all the frustrations of Shana Rishayna, he's running with his two Hadassah, one is Keneged Zachar, one is Keneged Shamar. Like bring home flowers. What do you say? The guy goes into a flower shop. He tells the little girl, I need something. She says, well, what do you need? I don't know. She says, okay, what did you do wrong? And I'll tell you, what do you have to apologize for? And I'll tell you what kind of flowers you need, right? So usually a guy's running with these Hadassah, he's building his marriage, he wants to invest. This is an old man, your life is over anyway. What are you building your marriage? What? When? No. Don't tell me how old I am. Okay? Because it doesn't make a difference how old you are. All you have is today. All anybody has is just today. So if today is the same as anyone else. You mentioned this beforehand. Somebody told me in Dubai there's a machine, like a vending machine, you can buy gold pieces. So where the price of gold is constantly fluctuating, no problem, it keeps changing. You put in your credit card, you get ounce, 2 ounce, half ounce, according to the price of gold. It said our mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim depend on what the commodity is. In that moment in your life that you feel frustrated and you're not in the mood of davening, and you're not in the mood of learning, and you're struggling with your emunah, and you say, listen, Rabbi Shalom, I'll do mine, you do yours. Boy, for that same credit card, for that same Amen Yesh Rabbi, you get worlds more. Keeps fluctuating. And the more frustrated we are, the more chashiv our mitzvahs are. So if Shimon Yochai is in the cave, there's no lulav, there's no matzah, there's no menorah, he doesn't have the basics of Yiddishkeit, no hamantash, no cheesecake, no nothing. And he's here indefinitely, and he keeps going. One of the boys in Japan, we keep forgetting about it, the third boy is still there, Yaakov Yosef ben Reisel. And they're hoping to transfer him to Eretz Yisrael, and so far it's not happening. So I heard an interview, the Rebbe should help in the Chos of Shimon, should be Zeichet, Pidyon, Shuyim. Everyone should be Zeichet to Yeshuas. I heard an interview with one of the other boys that was in Japan. It was the one boy that was found not guilty. And he's pleading, he's begging, please daven for him. He says he's in that Japanese jail. You don't know what it means for a yid to be there. He says, I know what it is, I know what the pain is, please daven for him. He's on his way to Miron, he gave this interview. And the interviewer asked him, he says, why do you think you were found not guilty? Basically, you know what he answered? An amazing thing. He said, in the first case, or the first two cases, I think he was the third case, they hired the best Japanese lawyers. They had such a rock-solid defense. They invested millions. They had legal experts across the country. It was so good. Boom, boom. Guilty. Second one, guilty. So when it came to him, they said, what's the point of spending all these millions? It's useless. Not guilty. When I went into that court case, I said, it's over, there's nothing. It doesn't help the biggest lawyers. You help me. Not guilty. Those times in life, right? When the doctor says, Chas v'sholem, the leibish tapit, and no chance. So you can't help me. So now it's the Rabbi Shalom. Different story. This is what he said. You heard him say it himself. We don't understand the period of Shimba Yochai was going through. The Romans were determined to wipe out every last year, to destroy Torah. 24,000 of Talmidim Rabbi Akiva are gone. Sort of a great nest. Rabbi Akiva has a bunch of new Talmidim, and now they're gone, and now Rabbi Shimon is gone, and Rabbi Akiva is killed. That's at the end of Torah. And this is some cave. What am I learning for? None of my business. I go on, and my frustration will turn into the bracha. Rav Shimon is determined. He understands that. Somebody told me a great story. It's a true story. You ever go to a bar mitzvah and you walk in and you want to buy a gift? You go, is there a Svarim store open? Right? You want to run around to Svarim store. No Svarim stores open. You feel so embarrassed. You're going without a gift. So this guy, only Jews can think of this. This guy came up with an idea. He has a Svarim van, and he checks up where there are bar mitzvahs, and he pulls up in front of the bar mitzvah hall. So when people come in and they forgot to buy presents, here's the van right there. So you buy presents. I don't know. Fantastic idea. Now he has 2 vans going to all different bar mitzvahs, getting lists of bar mitzvahs. The only problem is that when 5 people walk in with the same wrapping paper, it's a problem. But okay, so he has different rolls of wrapping paper now. So the Rabbi Shalom, you know what like BOmer is? It's a gift. The Shimba Yochai says, listen, Rabbi Shalom, I went through the ultimate Nisayan, okay? And I want one thing. I want to be able to say to every single person, B'sheishes, you may be gracious till Mashiach comes. He tried, he's in. That's what I want. It's like it's too late to buy the gift. It's not too late. I'll send you the truck to buy it. It's your Nisayan. It's your gift. That's what it has to be. The Tana de Beilayoy says a Dover Pella. It says Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go into Eretz Yisrael because some Sefer is Tainas and like BOmer. Zayin, how do we fast? What are you dancing? So the Tana de Elio says, others answer, Shimon Bar Yochai is the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu did not go into Eretz Yisrael, and when Moshe Rabbeinu was nifter, whatever Mar says there, so many hundreds of thousands of halachos were forgotten. It was a terrible avelis. Here, if Shimon Bar Yochai is not killed by the Romans, he dies a natural death in Eretz Yisrael. Not only a natural death, but the Zohar says the day of his Petira, the sun didn't stop, and he revealed all the great secrets of Torah. So when Moshe Rabbeinu's Petira, all those hundreds of thousands of halachos were forgotten, and he doesn't get to go into Eretz Yisrael. And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's Petira, there's a light that shines, that no one could even look at the light around his house. They didn't even know that he was nifter. And all these secrets of Torah are revealed in such a way that was never understood till now. So it's just the opposite of Moshe Rabbeinu. So that's why we have such gewaldige simcha. That's why it works so beautifully. That's not fair. Why is that fair to Moshe Rabbeinu? Well, how come Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't get to go to Eretz Yisrael? All the halachos are forgotten. Shimon Bar Yochai survives the Romans, is nifter around his talmidim, is megal l'sisrei Torah. No. What's pshat in this Tana de Elio? What Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was is Moshe Rabbeinu. In order for Rav Shimon Bar Yochai to be able to reveal the secrets of the world and to guarantee the Geula and to bring light and hope into every single heart, he had to go through the process as Moshe Rabbeinu of the ultimate disappointment of not going into Eretz Yisrael and the halach is forgotten. That's the koyach of Rav Shimon. That first it starts with what's the worst of the worst, and that worst of the worst turns into the bracha of bracha. So getting back to our original question, it's late, Rabbi say. I want to hold up the olam. So what do you say to someone like BOmer? So the Heilige Mishnah asked the kasha like this. He says there's a halacha, there's 2 times in halacha that you're not allowed to take a haircut. When? Chol Hamoed, Rachmana litzlan, by Avelus. Can't take a haircut. So he said the Yemei HaSvira, why don't we take a haircut during Yemei HaSvira? Why can't we shave? To me, the Rabbi Kiva died. We're in Avelus. Some say not like that. Some say that the whole days of Svira have the Kiddusha to a certain degree of Chol Hamoed. Sheva Shabbos is to me, my some don't do Malacha from night till they count Svira. So, and the Rizal Taka says that despite the Alpi Rizal, Alpi Halacha, even though everyone has different minhagim, you start from Rosh Chodesh, from Pesach to Lag BOmer, from Rosh Chodesh till Shavuos, but some don't cut the hair that's been Chasidim the entire time because nothing to do with Avelus. That's to the Pchin of Chol Hamoed, Pchin of Kabbalah Sater. So it's very confusing. Wow, this pendulum swings wide. Why am I not cutting my hair during the day of Zvira? Is it Chol Hamoed, is it Yom Tov, or is it Avelus? Zak the Rishna, it is what you make of it. You're the one that decides why you're not cutting your hair. You can take the tsaris of your life and say, this is going to lead to simcha. I don't understand. The Arizal says, on Lag BOmer, there is a kayach to take the frustrations in your life and to break through. And if you don't feel the simcha at that moment, but to at least have the emunah, I know this is all going to lead to simcha. It's going to lead to simcha. It's where there are no answers, there are answers. That's the kayach of Rav Shimon. Someone told me about a friend of his, didn't have children for many years. He went to Rav Shimon, cried his heart out. He promised if I have a baby, I'll name him Shimon. And he came home and his wife was expecting a child. And his father-in-law was so excited. The baby's born. Not the baby's born. It was right the 9th month. I guess they knew it was going to be a boy. And he tells the father-in-law, I'm going to name the baby Shimon. The father-in-law says, no, you're not. Naming him after my father. Getzel Moshe. No, you don't understand. I promised Rav Shimon. Well, you promised Rav Shimon. You promised. Oh, you talked to Tanaim? You named the first verse. You named after my father. He goes, yeah. What do I do now? He goes to Rav Shimon. And he says, Rav Shimon, you're the only one to get me out of this. Lamaisa, strange things. Sometimes a sonogram doesn't pick up that there are twins. The babies are aligned. He had 2 boys. One Shimon and one Moshe Getzel. Shimon has an ace. Shimon finds it. And there's that famous story, different versions of the story, that there was a man that didn't have children for many, many years, and it got to a point where it seemed that there's nothing else to do, and to divorce his wife. Very, very painful divorce. Very painful to divorce a situation where there's love and there's harmony, but and with tears gives the divorce. And a couple of weeks later, a brother-in-law of his calls up and says, you're not going to believe this. You didn't know. Your wife is pregnant. And he was a kayin, which meant that he cannot marry a grusha, not even his own grusha. And he ran to every rav and said, no, but it was a mistake, the get was a mistake, can we be oikrin l'befreya, can we declare it null and void? And the Rabbanim say, no, before a get, you read, you moister meido, you mevatel the matos, no, there's nothing we can do for you. You mean I'm going to have to watch the wife that he cared for and the child, and I can't, and I'm going to be separate, there's nothing we can do. There's two versions. I heard that there's a couple of versions to the story. There's one version, he was standing by the kaisel crying his head out, and somebody said to him, what are you crying for? There's no eitzah. And there's another person overheard that and said, how dare you tell you there's no eitzah, there is an eitzah. There's another version that somebody sent to Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he told him, ask your mother. Ask your mother. He didn't want to tell his mother the story because his mother would collapse in pain. And he went to his mother and he burst into tears and said, okay, I'm asking my mother. Maybe he needs that motherly love now. And the mother says, my dear child, come in, I will now tell you something which I was never going to tell you my whole life. But you should know that your father is not your father, that I was in a first marriage, and we thought we're not going to tell you. You were just raised by this father, and you are not a Kayin. Say, Schachter ein, those Aliyahs over here. I know the Shai with a bracha of a It's very interesting. In the Zohar we find a lashon Abba, Ima, father, mother. Speak to your mother. You know what BOmer is? No eitzes, no hope. You're in a cave the rest of your life. No food, no clothes, no nothing. When you think there's no eitzah, the no eitzah is the eitzah. The klala is the bracha. And that's the light of BOmer. That's the Hoyd Shabahoyd, where it says on this day all gateways in Shemayim are open. Chaperayim. Turn to Hashem and say, I don't have an eitzah. But not only Kadosh Baruch Hu do you have an eitzah, you know that this pain I'm going through is bracha. Please, give me the school of this day. And Rav Shimon promises he's going to daven for us. Show me the bracha. Let me speak to my mother.